very pleasant morning to all of you. And I believe what a great beginning of the Independence Day celebration today. So on behalf of Symbiosis Statistical Institute and Symbiosis International University, all my staff members, students, alumni of SSI who have also joined this session, all my colleagues, I welcome each one of you to this particular interesting session. And I underline very interesting session. So let me tell you about the offerings from SSI and why we are uniquely placed to host this kind of sessions going forward and including today's session. So at Symbiosis Statistical Institute, we offer master's program where we are offering 4 specialization. One is data science, another one is industrial statistics, third one is biostatistics, and fourth one is actuarial statistics. We also offer BSc program where in BSc program, we offer major as applied statistics and data science and minor as the business studies along with the PhD program. So the Symbiosis Statistical Institute and Symbiosis International University is working progressively towards incorporating the guidelines by National Education Policy 2020 into its curriculum. So we have revised all our, UG program. Curriculum has progressively revised towards the holistic development and sort of stress-free learning and teaching environment when it comes to the undergraduate program, that is BSc in Applied Statistics and Data Science. As we all know that one of the key aspects of National Education Policy 2020 is the promotion of culture and heritage, or you can say cultural heritage. So focus and initiatives regarding the Indian knowledge system at SSI is as making sure that our student will get introduced with the Indian knowledge system. Our curriculum makes sure that student gets exposure to their to these kind of systems for their overall holistic development. So we are making sure at SSI that our students have a flexible curriculum that allows them to understand their multidisciplinary interests by offering the basket of multidisciplinary courses at SIU. So we offer a lot of multidisciplinary courses and which are very, very interesting courses. One of the course is culture and heritage. One of the course is art integrated cultural education. Another course is games of uncertainty, statistics and nature, and things like this. So thus, in order to encourage the students to explore the diverse areas of their interest beyond the core disciplines with IKS, our institute has taken these initiatives and launched the series of sessions. So one of the first steps towards it is today's session, where we start understanding about the force of India with special focus. What I understood from Parag is geographical advantages while building up the force. So going forward, we will understand when we will be visiting force, what are the important things that we must understand, what are the statistical aspects, what are the archaeological aspects of force in India. And whenever you visit, what are the things that you must see when you are visiting the forts or the places like this, and so on and so forth. So with this, I think let me once again welcome each one of you. And now I hand it over to Ms. Prajakti Gokhale. So Prajakti Gokhale ma'am is adjunct faculty working at Symbiosis Statistical Institute. With this, I welcome each one of you, and over to Prajakti ma'am, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shri, ma'am. So I am going to introduce Parag sir right now. It's a great pleasure that Parag sir is there with us today. He is engineer by profession and is a history enthusiast and very passionate about Maratha history. And for last 36 years, he has been to more than 300 forts. And he has not only been himself, but he has taken hundreds and thousands of people along with him and gave them direction how to see forts, how to read different artifacts available there. Also, he has written 2 books, मराठ्यांची स्फूर्ती तीर्थे आणि भटकंती मराठ्यांच्या धारा तीर्थांची. So these are the and a lot of contribution he has done in terms of article writing in newspapers, magazines, and also he has done some sessions for commandos, and the commandos regarding Yuddha Netrutva Shivarayanse. That means how Shivaji Maharaj has taken initiative in war strategies, and सिंहगडाचा छापा, which is about his सिंहगडाचा छापा गनिमी काव्याच्या लढाईचा उत्कृष्ट आविष्कार. So how that particular strategy of warfare was important. So like this, I'm really having this pleasure to introduce him. Another thing is, forts are really strategically important and powerhouse of any empire. So while statistics students, how they should perceive forts. So pattern, records, documentation in various forms are there in our surroundings actually. One should build that perception to observe this. So this lecture series will help us to connect the dots of ancient history, heritage, to the way we understand patterns in various forms. Maybe in forts, maybe in architecture, symbols, carvings which are available there. So this is nothing but the data which is coded to give ideas of social norms of that ancient era. So let us build bridge of statistics to understand our heritage culture in the perspective of data recordings and patterns. So with this, I really invite Parag sir to proceed his wonderful lecture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Respected Dr. Shukla Madam, Director of SSI, Gokhale Madam,
Yes.
and the members of the technical team, and all the students who have registered for this lecture. Good morning to everyone and happy Independence Day to you all in advance. Actually, I am very delighted and feel proud to be invited as a guest speaker to talk on heritage and culture, forts and fortification. This being the first session on importance of forts. Now, as you are all aware, forts are grand monuments of our heritage and culture. Basically, monuments are not merely the creation of mortar and stones. They are the mute spectators of our history. Our forefathers, who erected numerous monuments in various forms in different parts of our India, these monuments in which our culture echoes, tradition speaks, and most importantly, the bravery of our own people reverberates in these monuments. And of all these monuments, the most majestic of these creations were our forts. Now, just to remind you, this year, the 350th anniversary of coronation of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is being celebrated in all parts of Maharashtra. 350 years back, on June 6, 1674, as per the Julian calendar, Shivaji Maharaj established a sovereign state or an independent state for the people of Maharashtra. And as you are all aware, this event took place on Fort Raigad. Now, these forts in Sahyadri mountain ranges have played a key role in liberating people of Maharashtra from the clutches of invaders. Now, let's begin with our presentation. And this presentation is going to be for maybe 1 hour, or it may extend to 15 or 20 minutes further. But this will give you an overall idea about the forts in the first session. And slowly we move towards the series of forts, wherein you will get an in-depth knowledge of the forts and particularly of the forts in Maharashtra. So let us begin with our presentation. Is it visible to all?
Yes, sir.
We just make it a full screen presentation.
Yes.
1 second. Huh? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now it's visible. Yes.
So heritage and culture, forts and fortification, session 1. importance of forts. Now, in a short span of about an hour or so, I am going to showcase various facets of our forts. Now, beginning with the history of forts and fortification, we shall try to find out the various references about forts in our old literature, treatises, and religious books. We shall simultaneously try to understand different types of forts which were built in ancient times and their classification, which has been narrated in these old resources. In the last part of our presentation, our emphasis would be on learning how Shivaji Maharaj leveraged the strategic locations of these forts in establishing his own Hindavi Swaraj. Now, while making these forts, the frontline defense units, it is very important, while making these forts, the frontline defense units, what were the innovative yet very simple techniques Shivaji Maharaj introduced while making the forts and building the forts. These innovative methods of making forts, ultimately impregnable for the enemy lines, have helped him in carving a niche for himself as the greatest fort architect. Indeed, it is a matter of great pride for all of us. In the entire process of overhauling of fort defense and tactical mechanism, as initiated by Shivaji Maharaj 350 years back, it has ultimately resulted in development of a new form of mountainous military architecture. This is very important. But unfortunately, these facets of Shivaji Maharaj are still not known to us. Now, let us see, as you can see on the screen, the contents, how we are going to cover this, the entire session. They are available there. Now, let us move to the next slide, which is based on the history of forts and fortification. Now, we begin with the term forts. Let us try to understand the definition of fort, how it has originated. The term fort has been derived from a Latin word fortress. In our ancient scripts and literature, the Sanskrit word used for fort is Durga. Even in Marathi or in our local languages, it is called as Gad. We call it as Raigad, Simhagad, Tornagad, like that. It is interesting to know the meaning of Durga in Sanskrit, how it has been defined, Durga. It goes like this. Du, the word Durga, Du means difficult and Ga means to cross over. Therefore, the word Durga means the fort that is difficult to cross over or trespass. So this is the very simple definition of Durga, which is given in our old literature and scripts. Another interesting Sanskrit definition of Durga is given as, they say that Durga is what? What is Durga? Durga, they call it as Gamanaya Dushkaraha, Akarmanaya Dushkaraha, Durga Miti Durga. It means that it is difficult to scale up. It is difficult to conquer. Durga is the most impregnable of all. Now, knowing the definition of fort, its origin and the definition in our own languages, now let us move to the next step, that is fortification. What is fortification? Primarily, a fortification is a military construction or building designed for the defense of territories in warfare, and it is also used to establish rule in a region during peacetime. So you can understand a fort has a dual responsibility. Prime purpose of a fort building is defense of people and territory in a warlike situation, and then in peacetime to control and have administration of the entire area. From very early history to modern times, defensive walls have been often built for cities to survive from invasions and conquests. The fortification in the Indian subcontinent first appeared in Harappan settlements. You can see few pictures of the Harappan settlements. Excavations were done recently, and maybe before we got liberated, the excavations were done, and we could see the pictures of the excavation. Now, what you see from these pictures is very important. Now you can see from the architectural point of view, architecturally, these were essentially perimeter walls. You can see the perimeters over here. This is the Harappan civilization. You can see the perimeter over here also you can see. So basically, These were essentially perimeter walls, and in which the purpose was to defend the habitations. Generally, these settlements were located close to the river banks. So placement of the fort, it is very important. They were generally near the river banks on a flat terrain and were perfect rectangle, square, or parallelogram in shapes. These settlements were further divided. They had some parts also. These settlements were further divided inside into components like citadel. Citadel is nothing but Balekilla, the topmost portion of a fort. But here it is a ground fort, the middle town and the lower town. The outer shape of the fortification was basically dependent on the terrain and the growth of the settlements. So this shape which is here, it basically depends on the terrain on which it is built and the settlement inside. At the time of wars and sieges, so what was the purpose of these settlements, or what was the purpose of these walled cities? At the time of wars and sieges, these forts decided the fate of the kingdoms, as they were the only thing that stood between a victory and a defeat. Thus, the ancient Indian forts were looked upon in those times as symbols of both glory and bloodshed. Now, the entire evolution of forts and fortifications has many references in our ancient scripts as well as in literature. These references suggest that concept of fortification in India was very old, and forts did exist in India even during pre-Vedic periods. References to such forts are available, of course, in Vedas as well as in Ramayana and Mahabharata. So these are some of the examples. I have just shown you the various references of the forts which is available in old manuscripts as well as in literature. Now coming to the next slide, again the references of forts in ancient and medieval period. Here are examples of old references wherein forts, fortifications, their designs, etc. have been elaborately discussed. First one is Rigveda, then comes the Agni Puranas, Manusmriti. In chapter 7, they have elaborately discussed about the classification of forts also. Then comes the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Kautilya's Arthashastra. You get ample references of forts. Even you can get an example, particularly in Bihar, Patliputra, when excavations were done. The fortification which was found in the excavation was exactly based on the lines of fortification mentioned in Kautilya Arthashastra. That part will come in the next slide. Then Abhilashartha Chintamani by Someshwar, Samarangan Sutradhar written by Raja Bhoj. Then comes the Daivadnya Vilas by Lakshmidhar of Yadavas, the Yadavas of Devgiri near Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. And one more from south, Akash Bhairav Kalpatum. This small script was found in Saraswati Mahal, located in Tanjore. These are the few references of forts in ancient and medieval periods which have been narrated in our ancient scripts. Now, talking about the Kautilya's Arthashastra, as I mentioned about Patliputra. Kautilya's Arthashastra is very important as far as the forts are concerned and fortification and the specifications also. Kautilya's Arthashastra talks about various forts in detail. He mentions as to how a fort should be designed, which materials should be used for building this fort. It further gives specification of moats, its construction, and further goes on mentioning that these moats are to be filled with perennial water. They should be protected with crocodiles. So these details are available in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Now, what is the example which is available in India as far as the Kautilya's Arthashastra and the specification of forts are mentioned in that? Patliputra, the capital of Mauryan Empire, as I said earlier, was based on the principles of fortification mentioned in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Now, another example. What does the old scripts say about forts or the importance of forts? Let us take an example of Kalika Puranas. In Kalika Puranas, they have warned the kings by saying that Durga Karya Nrupatina Yatha Yogyam Swadeshataha. It means that kings must construct adequate forts. This itself is very important. And in the Kalika Puranas, they have said that the kings to defend their people and to defend their territories, they must construct adequate force. What does the Atharva Veda states? Atharva Veda says, Ashta Chakra Navadvara Devanam Puhu Ayodhya Tasya Hiranyayaha Koshaha Swargo Jyotisha Vrittaha. What is the meaning of this Sanskrit stanza? Let us understand. It says that rather it compares the human body or the soul with an impregnable or invincible fort which is protected with 9 gates and is equipped with octo-wheeler defense devices. Similarly, while reiterating the importance of building a fort by a king, Shukraniti says forts are essential for self-protection during a war. And there is a small stanza which is available in Shukraniti, which helps us to establish the fact that the importance of forts have been mentioned in our old scripts. It says, the Shukraniti says, Ekaha Shatayodhayati Prakarastu Dhanurdaraha Shatam Dasha Sahasrani Tasmat Durgam Vishishati. It means that a single soldier or a one soldier inside a fort is stronger than 100 soldiers outside the fort. 100 such soldiers inside, or the garrison of 100 soldiers, are stronger than thousands from the enemy rank. So this is very important, and this establishes our claim that our ancestors, our old people they did know about the importance of forts, and they have classified also the forts. Thus, in ancient India, fort building was given what we can say a due consideration as well as importance. Various types of forts, their designs, construction, defensive techniques were developed according to the need of a kingdom. Kautilya Arthashastra has elaborately mentioned all this. Now, let us come to the next slide, that is the classification of forts. Now, up till now, we have seen that how it is defined, Durga is defined, fort is defined, then what are the resources available as far as the ancient India is concerned, how was the structure of the ancient Indian forts, how was the fortification which is excavated during the Harappan excavations. All these details we have seen. Now let us see how they have classified, our old people, how they have classified the forts. Our ancient scripts not only state the importance of building a fort, but also mentions about the various types of forts, where it is available. Manusmriti, Arthashastra by Kautilya, Agni Purana have elaborately discussed about the classification of forts. Now here we should remember that this classification of forts which they have mentioned in their scripts predominantly is based on the topography of the region and the architectural features. Topography is very important. Of course, the purpose of building fort is also important in that case. And the architectural buildings which are erected inside a fort, they are also important. And based on this, our old people have classified the forts. Now let us take an example of Manusmriti. Manusmriti, verse 7 or chapter 7 says that this is a very important stanza which is available in Manusmriti, and it gives the entire classification or the vision of our ancient people about the forts. It says that Dhanudurgam, Mahidurgam, Vakshameva, Nrudurgam, Giridurgam, Va Samashitya Vasetpuram. Sarvena tu Prayatena Giridurgam Samashayet, Esham hi Bahugunnena Giridurgam Vishisha. The last sentence, Esham hi Bahugunnena Giridurgam Visheshate, is very important, and it reiterates the importance of hill forts. Now, what is the meaning of this stanza? It says that the wise king shall build one of the 6 kinds of forts. The desert fort. In the stanza, Dhanu Durga is nothing but the desert fort. The earthen fort, Mahi Durga. The aquatic fort, Up Durga. Up Durga, you can break it down in as Aap. Aap means water. Up Durga means the fort which is island fort which is surrounded by sea or by the river water from all sides. So it is Up Durga. It is nothing but the aquatic fort. The arboreal fort or the Vanadurga. The human fort, Naradurga, and the Giridurga, the last classification, or the hilly fort. Manusmriti says that out of these 6 types of forts, the hill fort is best of all. In this sutra, the forts have been listed in order of their merit, and it is advised that the king should make his capital on either of the types of forts, the best being hill fort. The last sentence is very important. I said, Esham hi bahugunnen giridurgam vishishat. It has given importance to hill fort because from all the 6 types of forts, hill fort is the strongest, and it is the strongest. And as they have defined, Gamanaya Dushkaraha, Akarmanaya Dushkaraha, Durga Miti Durga. It is difficult to scale up. It is difficult to conquer. It is the strongest of all. So they have given importance to hill fort or the Giri Durga in Manusmriti. Now, interesting. I would like to tell you some interesting facts about Shivaji Maharaj. Shivaji Maharaj, if you see, has followed this rule mentioned in Manusmriti, and while establishing his Swaraj. As you are aware, Fort Rajgarh was the first capital of Hindavi Swarajya, and it served for more than 25 years as his first capital. Then he moved to Fort Raigad in 1670. He coronated himself in 1674 on the fort which is known as Raigad. And the Raigad then became the royal capital of Maratha state, or the Hindavi Swarajya. So now both Rajgarh and Raigad are hill forts. And you can see Shivaji Maharaj must have followed this rule mentioned in Manusmriti, and he created his capital. The first capital was on Rajgarh, and the royal capital was on Raigad. Both were, of course, the hill forts. Now, after the classification, now let us see the various examples which are currently also seen in India as well as in Maharashtra. So let us take one type of the fort. The first one, the desert fort, Dhanudurga. As the name suggests, the fort, desert fort, is the fort which is surrounded by desert or arid stretch of land. Example is Jaisalmer Fort in Rajasthan. It is surrounded by desert from all the sides. Now the terrain, as I mentioned earlier, the forts were built based on few parameters. The terrain was important. The terrain of Jaisalmer or Rajasthan, it being a desert or an arid land, so they have created a fort inside the desert. Now, what is the beauty of this fort? The terrain. The terrain restricts the swift movement of enemy, as you cannot move the enemy in the desert. Even if you bring a strong artillery, it is of no use because there is a restriction on the movement. So even a strong artillery will fail to make any impact on the strong bastions and the rampart of this fort. So this is the best example of a desert fort or a Dhanu Durga, which was mentioned by Manusmriti. Now, such example of a desert fort, of course, is not found or available in Maharashtra. The next category is mud fort or Mahidurga. This fort is protected by earthen walls and ramparts. Walls of the forts are constructed with bricks and stones. Currently, not a single example of this fort is found available in India. The third type of fort, as mentioned by Manusmriti, is Vanadurga. It is nothing but the fort surrounded by thick jungle. This fort is surrounded by thick forest cover, which acts as a preliminary line of defense. The example from Rajasthan, I am once again quoting the Ranthambore Fort, the wildlife sanctuary. You must have several times visited this wildlife sanctuary for sighting a tiger. But this jungle consists of Ranthambore Fort also, and it is totally surrounded by a thick jungle around it. So the forest cover is the prime, you can say, the defense line of this fort. So Vanadurga is the third type. Now, as far as Maharashtra is concerned, you can find an example of Vanadurga in Satara district near Mahabaleshwar, or it is in district of Satara, Maharashtra. This fort is known as Vasota Fort. It is associated with few incidences in the life of Shivaji Maharaj also. So it is a very frequent fort which is visited by trekkers and the historians also, and the history lovers also. So this is the third category of the forts as mentioned in Manusmriti. Now coming to the next category, it is the island fort or Jaladurga, Abdurga, surrounded by water either of seas or rivers. So this island fort or the Jaladurga is either surrounded by water, sea water or rivulets from all the sides. As far as the examples are concerned, best example of sea forts are plenty available in Maharashtra. The Sindhudurga fort, then the Khanderi fort, then the Padma Durga. You can see in the picture, the Khanderi is the island fort. The example is shown. This fort is witnessed by many battles between Shivaji's forces, his navy, and counterparts from British and Siddhis. The penultimate category, the Naradurga. This fort is protected by strong army. The defense of this fort, of course, totally relies upon the manpower. And the last category, the hill fort. This fort is built on a summit of a mountain. It is the strongest of all types of forts. Example shown in the picture is Pratapgarh Fort, Mahabaleshwar, district Satara, and it is in Maharashtra, of course. Plenty of examples of hill forts are available. Those who are interested in history and those who are going for trekking, they know all the examples of hill forts. To mention a few, of course, the Rajgarh, Raigad, Torna, Pratapgarh, Purandar, these are all hill forts which were in possession of Shivaji Maharaj. So now let us move to the next part of our presentation. Up till now, we have seen right from beginning with the definition of a fort, the various references available in our old scripts, and how they have classified the various types of forts. Now let us see the implementation of all the resources available in the past, how it was applied by Shivaji Maharaj, and how Shivaji Maharaj has built his own sovereign state with the help of the forts. As the title of the slide suggests, Sahyadri, the cradle of liberty. Now, with this little introduction to the history of forts and fortification, let us shift our focus to the next part of the topics. The importance of forts. Now, here I am going to elaborately talk on the geography of the terrain. Why the geography is important? According to historians, the geography constitutes the permanent basis of history of the region. This statement is very important. And to give importance to this statement, I would like to quote an example. Dr. Jadunath Sarkar, a well-known historian from West Bengal, a famous historian, in one of his books has said, geography dictates strategy. What is the meaning of this? While discussing about the geography and importance of geography in deciding the strategy of a state, we should remember that it is not the geography that directly influences the strategy of a state, but it is the man's knowledge of that geography and the ideas that he derives from this knowledge that influence and condition the strategy. And this is very important in case of Maharashtra and Chhatrapati Shivaji. This statement mentioned by Dr. Jadunath Sarkar in his book has been proved right by Chhatrapati Shivaji. Why? Because with the help of these forts in Sahyadri mountain ranges, he established an independent state in 17th century. Now, what is the importance of Sahyadri ranges in the entire course of history? The Sahyadri ranges of Maharashtra have been referred as the backbone of Maharashtra. Even prior to Shivaji's time, there have been many forts atop the ridges of Sahyadri. But the invaders or foreign origin ruling this area were unaware of their optimum utilization and potential of Sahyadri ranges. It was Shivaji Maharaj who realized the strength of Maharashtra. He realized that the strength of Maharashtra rests on the crest of Sahyadri and hence decided to leverage the strategic location of this force in his endeavor. He embarked on a mission of capturing enemies' neglected forts in his initial career and with his brain power and manpower. So if you closely study the initial career of Shivaji Maharaj, you will see that at the age of 15 or 16, precisely in the year 1645, 1646, he started capturing the enemy's neglected force. It was first Rajgarh, Torna, then Purandar. These are the first captures of Shivaji Maharaj, and these were all neglected forts. Shivaji Maharaj went on building new forts at strategically important and inaccessible locations. Again, here, the location of the fort is very important. Location of the site is important. The geography is important. At the same time, he strengthened the defenses of dilapidated forts because these forts were there. Earlier, rulers had built many forts on the Sahyadri ranges, but they were all in neglected state or in dilapidated forts state. Shivaji Maharaj took possession of these forts and he started strengthening them. These forts then became the key factor in establishing the Swaraj. Thus, the forts became keys to the kingdom. स्वराज्याच्या किल्ल्या म्हणजे हे किल्ले टू इफ यू वॉन्ट टू एक्सप्रेस इट इन मराठी किल्ले हे स्वराज्याच्या किल्ल्या झाले. In short, while understanding Shivaji Maharaj's efforts in establishing an independent state, one should not forget the geopolitical importance of Sahyadri. Shivaji Maharaj paid attention to strengthen every fort with adequate ammunition and fodder. The main hurdle for the invaders was the geography of region in south, which was dominated by Sahyadri. Shivaji Maharaj, knowing the potential of geography, decided to draw powers from the Sahyadri ranges. The Sahyadri mountain ranges and the forts above the ranges became the main center or the theater of all political and social and military activities during 17th century. This is very important. If you have a close look at Shiva Charitra, you will see that the Sahyadri ranges, the forts were the centers of all political as well as the military activities during his reign. Now, let us move to the next slide and see what the contemporary foreigners say about Shivaji Maharaj's knowledge of geography. Shivaji Maharaj as the great geographer. Shivaji Maharaj as a great geographer, his geopolitical understanding, knowledge of terrain and vision have been corroborated by Mr. Abbe Carey. Abbe Carey is a French contemporary traveler, and in his book known as The Travels of the Abbe Carey in India and the Near East, 1672 and 1674, what he says about Shivaji Maharaj's understanding of geography, his potential of understanding and utilizing the potential, he has corroborated in his book. Actually, this traveler, Abbe Carey, had visited Maharashtra, particularly some parts of Chaul in 1672, and he has mentioned about Shivaji Maharaja's ambition to conquer the entire north region. All these details have been mentioned in that. But let us focus what he says about Shivaji's knowledge of geography. He says, the quote is very important. Ever destined to conquer a part of the world, he had studied with extreme care everything. Everything means there are few other things also, but about the geography of which he had made a special study and which he had mastered to such an extent as to know not merely all the cities, including the smallest township of the country, but even the lands and the bushes of which he had prepared very exact charts. Thus, the Sahyadri mountain ranges offered immense political advantage to Shivaji Maharaja, and it truly served as the cradle of great virtues as well as the liberty. Now let us focus on Shivaji's virtues of architectural and fortification. Shivaji Maharaj as the greatest fort architect. Now, in short, let us try to understand how Shivaji Maharaj and forts in Sahyadri were destined to go hand in hand for the cause of liberation of his country. I would like to make a statement. Shivaji Maharaj was a fort native. By birth as well as by domicile, Shivaji Maharaj was the fort dweller. Now, to establish this fact, if you take a close look at his life, you will realize that he was closely associated with the forts. it was these forts that saw his birth. It was he was born on Fort Shivneri near Junnar. Of course, this Junnar is very close to Pune, city of Pune. Then his career flourished. As I mentioned, his career starts at the age of 15 or 1645 precisely. His career flourished and even his coronation. It was also this force that saw him take the last. It was 3rd of April 1680. He died on the fort which is known as Raigad. These forts were thus the singularly most important component of Hindu Swaraj and that of Shivaji's life also. Shivaji Maharaj was sure that sometimes or the other in future, the Mughal emperor himself will step down to the south to demolish the newly born kingdom. So he then established a network of forts to protect the Swaraj from the inevitable future invasion. He established a three-tier chain of forts to protect his entire kingdom, extending one of its arm to Jinji in south. So when he was on the conquest of expanding his Samrajya in the south, it is called as the Karnataka expedition. He went right up to Jinji, which is almost 150 kilometers south of Madras, and it is very close to Jinji. He captured this Jinji, which was a fort there, and he then reconstructed this fort as per his requirements. Now, within a short span of 3 decades, from 1645, he coronated himself in the year 1675. So it is a span of 3 decades or 30 years. So within a short span of 3 decades, Shivaji Maharaj freed the bulk of Maharashtra. He had more than 350 forts in his possession at the time of his death. Out of these, forts like Pratapgarh, Siddhudurga, Khanderi, Padmadurga were constructed by Shivaji Maharaj from the scratch. He built few forts in south also. Jinji is one of the examples. Now, it is interesting to know that for most of these forts in his possession, the design of the fort was very important. This design was largely an inspiration of his own, and he was the chief architect of all the constructions which were done on the fort. These constructions which were done on the fort were very simple and pragmatic. They were strong, imposing, and good example of sober and monumental beauty also. Thus, under his leadership, a new style of mountainous military architecture was evolved. Therefore, we must term Shivaji Maharaj as the last great individual fort builder in our country. Looking into his great contribution in fort architecture and fort building, I would like to give a quotation from our first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was the first president of India, has appropriately described Shivaji Maharaj by saying that Shivaji Maharaj was the builder of an epoch in our history. So this is the importance of forts and fort building as far as Shivaji Maharaj is concerned, and his entire endeavor of liberating his people and liberating his country from the clutches of the invaders. So now let us try to find some statistical data. Now what you can see on this slide, you can see that Shivaji Maharaj was born on 19th February 1630 on Fort Shivneri, and he died on Fort Raigad on 3rd of April 1680. As I said in the earlier slide, Shivaji Maharaj was a fort native. To establish this fact, I'm trying to show you some statistical data. Now, Shivaji Maharaj had a life of 50 years. To be precise, it was 18,306 days. It is interesting to note that major part of his life he has spent on various forts. To be precise, it is 46%. 46%, that means the half of his life he has spent on various forts. These forts, of course, have witnessed many important incidences in his entire life. Although inadequate statistical data so as to prove this conclusion is available today, some of the facts revealed from this analysis are very interesting. So now let us see. Shivneri Fort, the first fort, Shivneri, Shivneri Fort is the fort where Shivaji Maharaj was born on February 19 February 1630. He spent 2508. Of course, all the association with the Shivneri Fort was in his childhood. Initial childhood he had spent, and then he went for few years to Bangalore, and then he came back with his mother in Pune, and then he made his stay in the Kasba near Kasba Ganpati or Lal Mahal. So on Shivneri, he has spent about 2,508 days. It is about 13.7% of his life. The next fort, where which had a what I would say, the fort was lucky because this fort had a most association with Shivaji Maharaj. It is the first capital. It was won by Shivaji Maharaj in 1645, and he left Rajgarh Fort and went to Raigad Fort in the year 1670. So he stayed on this fort Rajgarh for almost 25 years. It was, of course, the first capital of Hindu Swaraj, and to be precise, it is 2,827 days out of his life, means 15.44% of his life Shivaji Maharaj has spent on Rajgarh. Another example of Simhagad, because it is very close to Pune, because of its proximity, you might be under imagination that Shivaji Maharaj must have stayed on this fort for a long time. But as far as the records are available, this is not. What is the importance of Simhagad or the Kondana Fort? As you are aware, Tanaji Maharaj or Tanaji Malusre, one of the noble Sardar of Shivaji Maharaj, on 4th of February 1670, he attacked Simhagad, a daredevil attack or a commando attack on a night, and in pursuit of capturing it. And he did capture the fort, but he was killed in the entire battle. So this is about Simhagad. But you will astonished and you will surprised that on Simhagad, Shivaji Maharaj has stayed only for 20 days. That means merely 0.10% of his life he has spent on fort. Simhagad. The next fort, the capital of the royal capital, Raigad. The two important incidences took place on this fort. One is the coronation in the year 1674, and he died on this very fort on 3rd of April 1680. Shivaji Maharaj has spent 2,060, that is 11.25% of his life on Raigad. Now, if you see critically, Shivaji Maharaj moved to Raigad from Rajgarh in 1670, and for a decade he was on Raigad. Out of these 10 years, 1.5 years he was away from Raigad. He was in the south for conquest of south, and he expanded his Swaraj till Jinji or the Madras also, Pondicherry also. So if you take a close look at his entire life, he had a life of 18,306 days. He spent 50% of that, that is 46%, precisely 8,557% of his life on various forts. So this will help you to establish a fact that Shivaji Maharaj was a fort native, and it can establish also close association of Shivaji Maharaj with these forts. Now let us see the notable features of his forts. Shivaji Maharaj. Shivaji Maharaj is known as Gadapati, or the king of forts. The term has been given to him not because he had 350 forts in possession, but the quality of forts, the quality of fortifications, and the idea behind creating the forts, the innovation techniques he brought into implementation while building the forts, it is very important. And that is why Shivaji Maharaj is known as Gadapati, not because of the quantity of forts, but it is the quality of building of forts. Now, what are the innovative techniques he had applied? As we have mentioned earlier, Shivaji Maharaj is known for his genius in designing the architecture of the fort. These architecture, as I mentioned earlier, were simple. It seems he has given a thorough thought while designing the defenses of his forts, because the defense of a fort is very important. The weapons used by the enemy, the psychology of an enemy soldier, their strength as well as the weaknesses. Strength and weaknesses, understanding the strength, understanding the weakness of the enemy, it is very important. It is nothing but the SWOT analysis as per the modern management. And This SWOT analysis must have been done by Shivaji Maharaj while creating the fort or building the fort, because you need to know the strength of the fort as far as the topography is concerned, the site, the purpose, and the whether it is a hill fort or the ground fort or the island fort. All these parameters are very important while designing the construction of the fort. The superiority of the terrain, of course, is very important. All these parameters were given a due consideration while designing these forts. Now, a very important and pragmatic approach of building forts. There was a scientific thought as well as a special knowledge of art of fortification, which was used by Shivaji Maharaj while building these forts. The unique feature of Shivaji Maharaj was never ever had reflected in earlier constructions. So this is his own, and you can say Shivaji Maharaj is a pioneer of all these pragmatic as well as the innovative methods of fort defense. And this special knowledge of Shivaji Maharaj on forts and fortification, we can term it as Vijnan. Vijnan means science. Here, the first alphabet from Vijnan is V. Now, V stands for Vishesh, or a special knowledge on forts and fortification. Special attention was given by him in designing the main entrance. Why? Why a special attention is required for designing a main entrance? Because the main entrance is the weakest point of the whole defense system. So this unique design of main entrance to the fort is a masterpiece of military architecture. We are going to discuss and learn about it. It is termed as Gomukhi style of entrance. Similarly, double-walled fortification, which you can see on Rajgarh Fort, armored bastions, which you can see in many forts, three-tiered fortifications, which is also available on Rajgarh, Raigad, and such many forts, and other features of his designs, which will be discussed now in the next few slides. So in the next few slides, or the last part of the slides, we have taken few examples of hill forts as well as the island forts. All these examples reflect his passion about the forts and simple yet effective scientific methods applied by Shivaji Maharaj. Now, the first case, it is the hill fort. These sketches are the schematic diagrams or line sketches. Now you can see there are two portions, the upper sketch and the lower sketch. Now let us try to see what Shivaji Maharaj brought into a new definition of what I could say the fort mechanism, defense mechanism. The sketch in the upper sketch show how the medieval forts prior to Shivaji era were fortified. What you can see, the title here says that it is in Marathi, Shiva Nirmit Killanखेरीज दिसणारी थेट माथ्यावरील तटबंदी. I will explain. Prior to Shivaji Maharaj, the rulers used to fortify only the Bale Killa or the citadel. Here you can see the fortification is available only on the topmost portion of the fort. It is known as Bale Killa. Bale Killa is a Farsi word. It is a Persian word. Bale Killa means Bala-i Killa. Bala means the topmost portion. Killa means the fort. This is a Persian word, Farsi word. Or in English, it is known as citadel. So in the earlier rulers used to fortify the citadel. The fortification used to be only on the topmost portion of the fort. Now, what was the weakness in this kind of architecture? The major weakness in this kind of fortification was that there were no rampart walls or gates or bastions in the levels of the fort. So what was the lacuna? What was the disadvantage? This used to give direct access to the enemy to reach the top without any powerful resistance. So you can see in the upper picture, the fortification is available only on the top, and there are no rampart walls or the gates or the bastions on the mid levels, not even at the base. So the enemy had a direct access to the main gate or the citadel. Now what happens further to that? So this used to give a direct access to the enemy to reach to the top without any resistance. And once the citadel or the Bale Killa is captured by the enemy, your fort is lost. So this was a major lacuna in earlier fortification. Now here Shivaji's Vijnan, Vishesh Jnan on fortification comes into the application. So as such, the most of the forts earlier to Shivaji Maharaj in the Sahyadri ranges were in neglected state. Shivaji Maharaj must have done a deep study of this and brought simple measures for fixing this lacuna or the problem. So what he did for this? He transformed the entire approach towards defensive lines with while constructing his force. He brought into effect more than one level of fortification from base to the top instead of only fortifying the citadel done by earlier rulers. So what was the change brought in by Shivaji Maharaj? The change in design was a three-tier fortification. The best example is Fort Raigad. Many of you must have gone to Fort Raigad, not by ropeway, by the steps, by the pathway which is available for ascending the fort. You must have seen that it is a three-tier fortification. At the base, there is a fortification or the rampart walls. Earlier, there was a gate which is not there in today's scenario. At the mid-level, there is a Mahadarwaza, and at the top or at the citadel, there is again, it is fortified by a rampart wall. So three-tier fortification was a unique idea which was introduced by Shivaji Maharaj. First level of resistance was at the base, and then a winding fortification consisting of the main entrance was built at the 3/4 height of the entire fort. 3/4 height is very important. Mid-level fortification. And of course, the third level of fortification at the top ensured the safety of citadel or the balcony at the top. With this, what happened? He ensured with this change that the enemy would then face resistance at every single step. This is very important. Resistance at every single step in the direction towards top. Earlier, it was not there. So at the same time, he kept a secondary door as an option for evacuation. This is again a new concept which was introduced by Shivaji Maharaj. Three-tier fortification, right from the base, the second level at the mid-level, and the third at the top. And apart from that, an option for evacuation, a secondary door as an option, in case the fort falls into the hands of enemy. This kind of alternate arrangement of safe escape route in case of emergency did not exist in earlier constructions. When you visit Raigad, there is a main entrance which is called as Mahadarwaza, and exactly 180 degrees opposite in the southern direction, you have another option for evacuation, which is known as Wagdarwaza. And Shivaji Maharaj's vision, his foresight, came into actual application in the year 1689 when the fort of Raigad was besieged by Zulfikar Khan on the specific day of 5th of April 1689. Rajaram Maharaj escaped from Raigad from the siege of Mughals with the help of this Wagh Darwaza or the secondary option. So the lowermost sketch in the slide shows how this was actually built. You can see mid-level fortification at the height of at the 3/4 of the height of the entire fort. Now the next slide, it is an example of how Shivaji Maharaj actually brought this idea into practicality. This is the example of Fort Raigad. You can see this is the main fortification, building for fortification extending from Takmak to Hirkani, from northern direction to the western direction. And in this fortification, here you can see the main entrance of the fort. This fortification, as you can see, it is at the mid-level or the 3/4 height of the entire fort. At the base, there is a fortification. At 3/4 height, there is the main fortification over here consisting of the main entrance. And again, at the top, there is another fortification. So this is the first case. You can see the simple yet effective mechanism or the idea Shivaji Maharaj brought into fort building. Of course, this was not there in the earlier forts. Now, the example 2, case 2. In earlier forts, as you can see in the upper picture, in the earlier forts, there used to be more than one approaches leading to the top of the fort. Here you can see there is this approach is available, this approach is available, another approach is available. So there were more than one approaches available in the earlier constructions prior to Shivaji Maharaj. This is quite evident from the upper sketch. What was the drawback of this construction? This multiple option to access to the fort used to help enemy in a way to launch attack on the fort on multiple fronts from all the directions at a time, and using more than one way available to reach the top. So what was the disadvantage of this entire system? This used to put immense pressure on the garrison inside the fort, and the garrison, obviously, they were forced to fight enemy on different fronts. This obviously used to affect their defending capacity, making it very weak. Probability of losing a fort because of such kind of constructions to enemy was more in such cases. It was because of the division of strength, division of resources and capabilities, and ultimately it used to badly affect the entire war machinery of the garrison. Now here comes Shivaji Maharaja's pragmatic vision. Shivaji Maharaj changed this entire concept and brought out an out-of-box idea that made the defenses of his fort stronger and more effective. He ensured that there would be one and only one way to reach the top, closing all possible options of access to the top. The lower picture is clearly visible, and it is clearly evident from that. This was linked with the two-tier or three-tier fortification, which we have mentioned in the earlier slide, interwoven with a strong main entrance, as you have seen in the earlier picture of Raigad, and many bastions. Another special aspect in the design was a careful carving of this path to citadel. This is very important. It was designed in such a fashion that while you are ascending the fort, this is the path to the main gate or to the top. While you are approaching to the main gate, you will see that the cliff is on your right side. The cliff has got the bastions and the rampart. The pathway is crafted in such a way that while you are ascending the fort, on your right side you will have the cliff of the fort, or the entire fortification consisting of the main entrance, and to your left side there will be always a valley, a deep valley. The sheer drop of the fort would remain on your left side. On your right side there will be a cliff having a fortification, and as it is obvious, behind the fortification all the garrison would hide. They will have their vantage point. They will be sitting on the top. The enemy which is coming from the below, they can be targeted easily. So this kind of I would say system, or the system was invented by Shivaji Maharaj, and this is the second case. Now you can see the examples of this, which are clearly visible in pictures. The above right corner picture is of course Raigad. You can see when you move to the top, near the gate, near the main entrance, you will find that on your right side there is a winding fortification consisting of many bastions. They are armored bastions. You can see a additional armor is given to this fortification. You can see a projection over here. This is an armored bastion, the main gate, and on your right side while ascending the fort, this main fortification will be on your right side, and on your left side the deep valley will be there. This is a picture of example of Pratapgarh. You must have gone there many times, but you might not have observed this feature. Now when you go to Pratapgarh, you definitely should remember this aspect, and you can actually see how it has been carved out. The path over here, you can see the parking area, and if you want to scale the fort, you have to take this route. On your right side, this fortification, double walled fortification will be there, and on the left side the valley will be there. So this is the greatest feature of construction of Shivaji Maharaj, and this innovative way of crafting a single and difficult approach to the top of the fort is visible in these pictures, and Raigad and Pratapgarh are the best examples of these forts. And now you can see how Shivaji Maharaj must have thought over while building this forts and why his forts were impregnable for enemy lines. Now let us see the third case. As whatever I have mentioned you earlier, it has been described in these cases. It would be interesting. Now he has made some changes in the fortification, but it is interesting to gauge the effectiveness. Somewhere there should be some measuring strategy for whatever he has constructed. There must be something to gauge the effectiveness of the new techniques executed by Shivaji Maharaj. Although we don't have the correct resources or sources to establish and measure these techniques, the effectiveness of these techniques, they are not available. But the few slides which I'm going to show you in the future course, that will help you to visualize the situation at the main entrance. When an enemy is attacking the fort and while overcoming the hurdles right from the base, if he tries to manage to reach the top, rather the midway level, and he reaches the main entrance, what would be the situation? You can visualize with the help of these pictures. These pictures will help you to understand how the enemy soldiers must be finding themselves exposed to a ferocious attack from inside. Now you can see the enemy, of course, because of the liberty of the picture, only one enemy soldier is shown over here, but it is not. In reality, hundreds of a troop of soldiers would be there. They will be crowded up here. On their right, the fortification is there. Our soldiers, the garrison is sitting inside on height at a vantage points. They are hiding behind the fortification. The enemy soldiers, they are not able to visualize where the enemy is hiding, but they can have a ferocious attack from all the sides from the top. You can see the various, what I would say, the equipments and various armors they must have used, either a gunshot or huge stones. They will be pelted on them, or the arrows will be thrown on them. They don't know from which direction it would come, and it will take their life. So the enemy soldier is in a kind of dilemma. They will be under tremendous psychological pressure. From base right up to the top, the psychological pressure has been built up. The pressure is at its, what I would say, at its top when it reaches to the main entrance. The enemy forces, as I said, would be in a tremendous psychological pressure. They would be in dilemma because they have two options in front of them. The first option is, of course, to safeguard themselves, because if they are alive, they can go and fight with the enemy. And the second option is they have a pressure to surge ahead to capture the main entrance. Now you can imagine how the enemy soldiers must be going through a dilemma. The tactical pressure which must have been created and built up during all these cases. Now, the next slide you can see. Here also you can see this is the main entrance. The main entrance is there. The troops of the enemy are approaching to the main entrance, and it is a winding approach. It is not a straight approach, as mentioned earlier. They are trying to put the ladders to reach that to the top or to enter into the fort, but our soldiers are hiding behind, and they are using all sort of weapons. It may be a boiling water, boiling oil, or huge stones, or the bullets, or the arrows. And you can imagine the fate of the enemy soldiers. And this entire pressure situation ultimately would create a killing field for the enemy lines. So another picture, here you can see the same explanation can be given for this. Now, this picture is very special. This is the fourth case, which I have mentioned earlier as the Gomukhi style of architecture. Now, what is the speciality of the fortification or the architecture in creating a main gate? As I mentioned earlier, Shivaji Maharaj was aware that the entrance to the fort is the weakest portion in the defense lines. So special attention was given to a path leading to main entrance. It was deliberately made narrow. Now, many of you must have visited Raigad. When you are very close to the main entrance, the path becomes narrow. The steps, the height of the steps go on increasing. It is steep, and a zigzag path is made to the main entrance. Many hairpin bends are made into the path. As far as possible, hairpin bends are created in the approach to the main gate. Now, as you can see in the picture, the entire path coming from the down, from the main, from the below bastions at to the mid level, this entire path, because it is on the right side, the fortification is there, it is under surveillance of the garrison from inside. So the path is under surveillance and threat of attack from insiders, which are hiding behind the fortification. Now, in the final approach to the gate, the best example, as I'm mentioning several times, it is Raigad. You must go and visit Raigad, and you must climb the steps and reach the main entrance. Once you approach the gate, the steps were made purposely high. After overcoming, if at all, now another possibility, if at all, after overcoming all the obstacles and overcoming this entire ordeal, if at all an enemy soldier, if he could manage and reach close to the gate, what he will find when he reaches the gate, near the gate, what he will find? He will find only two lofty bastions in front of him, and no traces of the main door. Try to visualize the situation at Fort Raigad. When you are near the main entrance, you see in your front view the two huge lofty bastions. They are known as Jay and Vijay bastion. The height of these bastions is 60 feet. One is 60 feet, the another one is 65 feet. The gap between these bastions is very narrow. I will tell you why it is made like that. While you reach to the top, while you come to closer to these bastions, Jay and Vijay, the approach is made zigzag. The steps are made very high compared to others earlier steps, and the height is increased and it is made very steep. Now, in the final approach, as I said, purposely they have made the steps very high, and after overcoming all these obstacles, at this junction, they will see only two strong and lofty bastions, which would be visible to the enemy and with no traces of main door. So he will get confused. Where is the main door? We have been told to capture main door, but where is the main door? I could see only two lofty bastions. So here it gets confused. Now remember that the enemy soldier has come through all the ordeals of resistances, and the entire troop is tired, exhausted. They have to continuously, I would say, safeguard themselves as well as fight with the enemy, and they have reached the main gate. Now here they don't see the main gate. Now what Shivaji Maharaj has made at this junction is very important. It is a very unique kind of design. He has made the path leading to the main entrance in a way that it is turned in the right direction. It is turned like this. Here also you can see the path, the enemy soldiers which are coming from below the fortification, they have to take a right turn if they wish to reach to the main entrance. Here you can see the soldiers, they have to take a right turn between these two bastions. And once they enter this area between these two bastions, the main door is on the right side. And this entire area, which is a very small area, inside this area, you just imagine that the entire enemy forces have crowded up there, and they are being attacked from all the sides. This unique construction is known as Ranamandal, which is they are in a tight kind of situation. They are being attacked from all the sides. They have no escape route because it is a very small, what I could say, a small space to stand there, and they are all crowded up there. So this kind of unique fortification or the pathway is very important. Another fact.
Excuse me, Parag.
Yeah.
We can have 10 more minutes.
Yeah, sure. I will try to finish it off. Few slides are remaining there. I will try to finish it. So add to the difficulty, as I said, this was made. This was turn in the right direction. And now, if at all the enemy brings a elephant, this possibility also has been considered while designing this pathway. If at all an elephant is brought by the enemy to break the door. Now, why this door, why this pathway is turned into the right direction? There, the purpose of this kind of construction is to eliminate all the possibilities of threats of elephant attack on the door. The tired enemy soldiers, after passing through this kind of tight pressure situation, would easily fall under counterattack from inside garrison. Now, you try to imagine, visualize, if an enemy is brought into this situation, and if the elephant is used to break the door, how it is going to break the door? Because the path leading to the bastions is very narrow. There is a very small gap. Even an elephant cannot pass through the small gap between the two bastions. It is created like that. Purposely it is created. And it is very steep and it is turned into right direction. Now the entire possibility of using an elephant to break the door has been eliminated here. How? If an elephant has to break the door, he just can't go and stand in front of the door and push the door with his head. He has to take a run up. He has to charge from behind. So the entire possibility of taking a charge, and I will give you a best example of cricket. When a fast bowler, why he can bowl very fast, why he can throw a ball with a high velocity, because he takes a long run up. A spinner doesn't have to take a long run up. A fast bowler predominantly has to take a fast run up to deliver the ball with a great velocity. So it is a primary requirement. So here in this case also, if an elephant is brought there, all the possibilities have been eliminated, and they have not left an option to take a charge for the elephant, because it is very steep. The pathway, the steps are very steep, and they are very narrow. You don't have a passage between the two bastions to pass through them. And most importantly, it is turned on the right. It is turned in the right direction. So the elephant just can't go and break the door. So in a way, all the possibilities have been eliminated. So this is the best and unique consideration of the entire knowledge of Shivaji Maharaj, his this is his brainchild. This is not available in our earlier literatures. This is very important. Mind it well, it is not available. Such kind of, even Arthashastra doesn't mention about this kind of fortification. This is the own creation of Shivaji Maharaj. And by using this kind of creations or the gateways, the pathways leading to the main door, all the possibilities of the capture of the fort have been eliminated. And once by chance, if the enemy troops enter the Ranamandal or the small passage between the main door and the what I would say the bastions, the situation of the enemy soldiers would be very difficult. It is very difficult to survive, because they will be attacked from all the sides with all kinds of weapons. So it will nothing but result in killing fields for the enemy lines. And this unique feature of this construction or the gateways is called as Gomukhi Bandhaniche Pravesh Dwar, or Gomukhi style of main entrance. And remember, this is the brainchild of Shivaji Maharaj. Why Shivaji Maharaj is known as the greatest fort architect in the entire history of the world? It is not because of the number of forts in his possession. It is because of these simple, pragmatic, and effective methods of defending his forts. These are all these styles which are very important. And this is the style of main entrance. Again, this is the example. You can see the main entrance of Raigad Fort. You can see these two bastions. This is Jai, this is Vijay, having a height of 60 and 65 feet. Now the entrance is turned in the right direction. Once the enemy reaches here, in the front view, he can see only the fortification, line of fortification. Main entrance is turned in the right side. From the top only you can see the main door. In the top view only, this is visible. So this is a very unique feature of creating a defensive mechanism for the what I would say for the defense of his fort. And Raigad being the capital of Hindu Swaraj, all these mechanisms have been implemented by Shivaji Maharaj. Okay, so this is the example of Gomukhi style of main gate, which is available in Raigad. Many more examples you can see. Now here you can understand the meaning what I'm trying to tell you. This is the main gate. Sorry. This is the main gate here. You can see the main gate. And from here, the approach is from here. You have to turn on the right side and you will be attacked from all the sides by the garrison inside. And you are under a ferocious attack. You are inside the Ranamandi. Another example of Sindhudurga fort. It is an island fort which was built from the scratch by Shivaji Maharaj. Here you can see in the front view, these are the two main bastions. Inside, you have to turn, you have to take a right turn to see the actual, I would say, the main entrance. From the long shot, you can see these are the two bastions. Here it is very clear. For an enemy or for a visitor, you don't see the main entrance directly. In the front view, you can see only the fortification with the two bastions. Here you can see in the left corner upper picture, the above is the front view. Only you can see the fortification. Here the hash picture, hashed part is the nothing but your main door. In the top view, you can see here, you have to take a, you have to take a right turn. Once you are near the fortification entrance, you have to take a right turn and move inside, and then you see the main entrance. So this entire area inside the two bastions, you are under surveillance from all the sides. 360 degrees attack will be there. This is known as Ranamandi. And this is the important creation of Shivaji Maharaj. This is known as nothing but, it is nothing but the Gomukhi style of architecture. Should we stop here, or what I would say? Or we can take an example of island for 5 minutes and then we can stop.
Yes, Parag, just 5 minutes, yeah.
This is again an important feature of double wall fortification. But since we have a limitation of time, I will move to the island fort, because you can have another idea of Shivaji's innovations, because it is a island fort surrounded by surrounded by water from all sides. Now you can see this is a picture of Khanderi fort. This is a Khanderi fort, which is an island fort, and it is the fort of the coast of Thal near Alibag, and it is surrounded by seawater from all the sides. The construction, little history is very important. You should know the history, which is very important. The construction of this fort, island fort, was started by Shivaji Maharaj in his last years. It was precisely in the monsoon of 1679. In August 1679, this fort, this island was under the scanner of Shivaji Maharaj, and Shivaji Maharaj started building a fortification on this island of Khanderi. Now, this has got a strategic location. I have been mentioning, while designing or constructing a fort, the topography, the site, the purpose, and the locations are very important. This island of Khanderi, it being very close to Mumbai, there was a constant trade from British East India Company. The Britishers were claiming the possession of this island fort, being the proximity, it being very close to Mumbai. And so they were claiming the possession of this island of Khanderi. Now, in pursuit of this claim on the island, the Britishers created a blockade from August 1679, and it lasted till January 1680. In pursuit of this claim, the Britishers created a blockade of Khanderi fort. They wanted to stop the ongoing construction. They created a blockade by employing their naval fleet and tried to create hurdles in the ongoing construction on Khanderi. Now, despite, I will not go into the details of the history, how the battle took place. There were many skirmishes, naval skirmishes, but I will not go into the details. What was the ultimate result? Despite of all resistance and threats from British and the Siddhis, the construction of the fort was successfully completed by the end of December 1679. So the construction was completed by Marathas. However, Shivaji Maharaj was not happy with the quality of fortification, because the quality of fortification, why I would say, because it is under constant threat from the Britishers. They tried to create the blockade. They tried to stop the supplies, even the materials they could not get in time. But in spite of all these hurdles, we created the fortification on the fort of on the island of Khandari. So during the process, Shivaji Maharaj thought that the quality of fortification is not up to the mark. And secondly, this site, the fort being in the middle of high seas, it is surrounded by seawater from the all sides. So the curtain walls are under constant threat of high tides. You are all aware the sea has a continuous cycle of high tide as well as low tide. And during the high tides, the waves rise up to 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet also. So this fortification of the fort is constantly under the threat of high tidal waves. And Shivaji Maharaj was of the opinion that because of all these hurdles which were there right from the beginning, there could be some weaknesses in the fortification. So what he did to overcome this lacune? So he decided to give an extra protection to the curtain walls, extra protection to the fortification by a unique way no one could have ever thought or imagined. What he did? Shivaji Maharaj erected a mound of loose boulders from all the sides or all around the fortification. Here in the picture you can see there is a fortification or the periphery wall is there, perimeter construction is there. And just below the construction fortification, you can see mounds or heaps of loose rocks from all the sides around the fort. So what he did, he gave an extra protection. Shivaji Maharaj erected a mound of loose boulders all around the fortification. Secondly, this was organized in such a manner that the height of the pile of rocks would decrease towards the sea level. From the wall of the fortification towards the sea, this height of the pile would go on decreasing right up to the sea level. So what was the unique idea behind this? What was the advantage of this? The idea was very simple, and it reduced the threat of impact of high tidal waves, which otherwise would have hit the walls directly. In a way, Shivaji Maharaj created a buffer of loose rocks to protect the main curtain walls from high tidal waves. The forceful impact of high rising waves directly threatening the fortification was reduced to a great extent. The purposely placed rocks around the island forts served as shock absorbers. The purposely placed these loose rocks acted as shock absorbers and saved the fortification from becoming weak and weakening the fortification. Now I can quote you similar kind of technology which is used in many cities, particularly the coastal cities. Example is Marine Drive of Mumbai. So this is the schematic diagram of how he has created the loose rocks, how he has spread the loose rocks all around the fortification. Now you can see the height of the hip from the fortification to the sea level, it goes on decreasing. All the high tidal waves, they cannot directly reach the what I would say the main fortification. The entire force will be absorbed by the loose rocks. So this is a simple technique, but no one ever earlier had thought of or imagined of this kind of fortification. Now the best example. To the left side, you can see the closer picture of the loose rocks which were spread all around the fort. This is the current picture, of course. This is the main curtain wall and the loose rocks from wall to sea level. The height of the hip goes on decreasing. And here on the right side on Marine Drive, you can see a similar kind of arrangement which is made. Now here on Marine Drive beach, many times you must have visited and you must have thought why these rocks have been kept there. This same technique which was used by Shivaji Maharaj has been used here. Now you can see in the right side, there are some concrete blocks which are star-shaped. These star-shaped concrete blocks are known as tetrapods. They are placed all around the seashore at Marine Drive. And the purpose of these tetrapods is same. They are absorbing the direct impact of the tidal waves, thereby protecting this curtain wall. So this technique is again very important. I have told you up till now two or three, maybe three techniques of Shivaji Maharaj which were introduced by him, which are also pragmatic and innovative. And that is why Shivaji Maharaj must be called as what I would say the greatest fort architect the entire world has ever seen. Now, unfortunately, because of the time, I would say restriction, I am not able to tell you about Rajgarh, which is a very close fort to Pune, and it has also got some techniques, double wall fortification, armored bastions. All this you can go there. In fact, I would suggest we can organize a direct field trip to this Rajgarh, and we can explain you the architecture of Shivaji Maharaj. I would like to tell you that many foreigners, students of architecture, they do visit Fort Rajgarh to see this architecture. Okay, now coming to the end of this presentation, I hope you must all have enjoyed this legacy of forts and fortification, which is actually was created by Shivaji Maharaj. And as I mentioned earlier, I would like to bring to your attention the quote from or a sentence from Dr. Jadunath Sarkar that geography dictates strategy. As far as what we have learned so far and the passion of Shivaji Maharaj for his forts and the techniques he introduced, I would go on adding to that line. Geography dictates strategy. It is geography that not only dictates strategy, but it dictates history also. And it is clearly evident from Maharashtra, examples of forts from Maharashtra. The history what we have today is because of Shivaji Maharaj and all the forts he had in possession. The geography is very important in that case. Shivaji Maharaj, the master of forts, built his forts with passion. As I have been mentioning, all the designs, all the small intricate designs, the micro level planning at the main entrance, all these are brainchild of Shivaji Maharaj. Shivaji Maharaj is the master of forts, and unfortunately, these forts are in dilapidated conditions too. What are the reasons for that? Common man's apathy towards our history, our glorious past. It is the main reason for that. And overall neglect by various factors of the society. There is a complete, I would say, state of neglect, apathy towards the history, the glorious past. The forts are seen as mere spots for picnic. But whenever you go there, you should take inspiration from these forts. Overall neglect at all levels has resulted in pushing these forts, the magnificent forts of Shivaji Maharaj, into really bad conditions as of today. But as I said, even today, one can draw inspiration of national spirit from the forts by visiting these forts and exploring them. These forts are witness to our glorious past. They are the wonderful facets of our splendid heritage and culture. We should never forget that Shivaji Maharaj, who was the great creator, and the Sahyadri forts were the real architects of building an appropriate platform for future Maratha kingdom. To conclude, I am once again thankful to all the organizers, Director of SSI, Dr. Shukla Madam, Gokhale Madam, the entire technical team, and all the viewers and students who are registered. I'm thankful to them again for listening patiently, and I hope you must have enjoyed. This must have created a little kind of curiosity about our forts, the legacy of our forts, the heritage, facets of our heritage and culture. And we should remember the great legacy of Shivaji Maharaj and his beloved forts. At the end, I would say, indeed, within the walls of these forts throbs the heartbeat of our history. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Parag. I think this was an excellent lecture on forts. And you have mentioned about the geographical location, according to that location, how unique way construction is done. And of course, on that, there is a warfare strategy, which really your statement is it reduces the probability of enemy to do direct attack. So it really, we have seen 6 different case studies which were there. Actually, your slideshow contains maybe more than 6 case studies of different design of just entrance. So I believe if we go inside the forts, there may be several designs and structures and things which actually we are not able to cover in this session. So whatever question answers are there, let us reserve it for next session.
Right.
And sir, please can you stop sharing the slideshow?
Oh, sorry.
So whatever question answers, I hope students must have enjoyed this beautiful session and very unique in its way, because it gives us the importance of geography according to that structure of folds. And this is just, that's what I said. It's just the entrance we have seen right now in the whole lecture. We have not seen the interior of forts, which actually I have been with Parag sir to Rajgarh, Raigad, and many other forts, and we see how much time we take there. 3 hours, 4 hours, we just examine different artifacts and different things and different geographical things inside the fort. So it's really a beautiful journey, and we reserve and all question answers we can take in the later sessions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining.